The stars looked different from the observation deck of the USS Defiance. Commander John Harper stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the vast emptiness of space. The ship moved silently through the darkness near Neptune's orbit, on what should have been a routine patrol. "Commander, we're picking up an unusual energy signature," Lieutenant Samantha Miller called from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "It's not matching any known Earth vessel." Harper walked over to her station and looked at the readings. "How far?" "About 50,000 kilometers and closing fast," Miller replied. "Whatever it is, it's big." Harper nodded and pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands to alert status. This is not a drill." His voice was calm but firm. Years of service had taught him that panic never helped in unknown situations. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the Defiance was ready for whatever might come their way. Harper returned to the main viewing window, just in time to see a flash of light as a massive ship appeared. It was unlike anything humans had built. The alien vessel was at least 5 times the size of the Defiance, with a smooth silver surface that seemed to bend light around it. Strange markings covered its hull, glowing with a soft blue light. "Open communications on all frequencies," Harper ordered. "Let's see if they're friendly." For several tense minutes, there was no response. Then the main screen flickered to life. The beings on the screen were not human. One looked like a tall insect standing upright with multiple arms and large compound eyes. The other had blue skin and 3 eyes arranged in a triangle pattern on its face. "Greetings, Earth vessel," the blue being spoke in perfect English. "I am Morton of the Centauri Alliance. This is Zixel of the Arachnid Confederacy. We represent the Galactic Council." Harper stepped forward. "I am Commander John Harper of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Defiance. We welcome you to our solar system." The insect-like being made a clicking noise that might have been laughter. "Your defense fleet is charming. We have monitored your species for some time. Your technological development is adequate for a species so young." Harper kept his expression neutral despite the obvious condescension. "We have much to learn, but we're quick students. What brings the Galactic Council to our system?" Morton waved a 3-fingered hand. "The Council catalogs and categorizes all intelligent species. Your kind has recently developed faster-than-light communication capabilities, which triggered our protocols for first contact." While Harper kept the aliens talking, Miller whispered to him from her station. "Commander, they're scanning our ship and all of Earth's defense platforms. Very aggressive scans." Harper nodded slightly to show he understood. Something didn't feel right. "We would be honored to establish diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. Perhaps we could arrange a formal meeting with our leaders." Zixel's mandibles clicked. "That will not be necessary. The Council has already classified your species." "Classified?" Harper asked. "What does that mean?" "All species are evaluated based on their potential benefit or threat to galactic stability," explained Morton. "Humans have been classified as a containment species." Harper frowned. "Containment? I don't understand." "Your species displays concerning traits," Zixel replied. "Your history is filled with warfare. You advance technology primarily for military purposes. You are unpredictable and emotional." "All young species face challenges," Harper said carefully. "We've made great progress toward peace." "Our scans and data analysis suggest otherwise," Morton said coldly. "Containment is for the good of the galaxy." Miller suddenly looked up from her station, her face pale. "Commander, they've locked weapons on Earth's orbital platforms." Before Harper could respond, the massive alien ship fired. Brilliant beams of energy shot past the Defiance toward Earth. On the screens, Harper watched in horror as 3 defense satellites exploded. "This is an act of war," Harper shouted at the screen. "We've shown no hostility." "War implies equal standing," Zixel clicked. "This is merely pest control." Harper turned to his crew. "Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of their weapons range." 2. The weapons officer, he called. "Lieutenant Ryan, target their weapons systems and fire when ready." The Defiance lurched as the helmsman sent it into a tight spiral. The ship's railguns fired, sending projectiles toward the alien vessel. They hit but seemed to do little damage against the advanced shields. The alien ship fired again, this time at the Defiance. The beam grazed the human ship's port side, sending alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "Damage report," Harper called over the noise. "Port thrusters at 60%. Hull breach on deck 3. Emergency containment holding," called Chief Engineer. Pete Davis from Engineering. Harper made a quick decision. "Plot a course for the asteroid belt. We'll use the rocks for cover while we contact Earth." As the Defiance turned to flee, the alien ship fired again. This time their aim was better. The beam hit the engines directly, causing explosions throughout the engineering section. "Commander," Miller called, "I've sent an emergency signal to Earth Defense Command with all the data we've collected on the alien vessel." Harper nodded grimly. "Good work, Lieutenant." He looked at the tactical display. 3 more alien ships had appeared near Mars. This wasn't just an encounter. It was an invasion. "Sir, we have reports of unidentified craft entering Earth's atmosphere," reported Communications Officer Ben Jacobs. "Multiple landing sites across North America, Europe, and Asia." Harper clenched his jaw as he watched more defense platforms explode on the monitor. Earth had sophisticated defense systems, but nothing like what these aliens possessed. They were outmatched in technology and firepower, but humans had faced overwhelming odds before. Harper had studied military history extensively. Throughout human existence, determination and innovative thinking had overcome superior forces. "Send a tight beam message to Captain Gregory Daniels at Earth Defense Command," Harper ordered. "Tell him conventional tactics won't work against these aliens. We need to fight differently. Use our unpredictability to our advantage." As the Defiance limped toward the asteroid belt with the alien vessel in pursuit, Harper watched his homeworld grow smaller on the view screen. The Galactic Council had made a serious mistake. They saw humans as primitive and easy to conquer. They thought humans would surrender when faced with superior technology. They didn't understand that humans, when backed into a corner, became the most dangerous species of all. The Council had attacked without provocation, destroyed Earth's defenses, and called humans pests. The Galactic Council was about to learn why that was a terrible mistake. 2 weeks after the first attack, Earth was on its knees. Dr. Olivia Wright stared out the window of the underground bunker at what used to be downtown Seattle. Alien ships hovered over the city, their shadows making the day seem like night. She turned away from the grim view and focused on her microscope. "Any progress?" asked technical specialist Kevin Rodriguez as he entered the lab. His normally neat appearance was disheveled, with several days of stubble on his face. Olivia shook her head. "The cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen. These council beings can alter their physical appearance at the molecular level." Rodriguez set down his tablet with a heavy sigh. "That explains how they infiltrated our government so quickly. They could look exactly like anyone." The lab door opened again, and Admiral Susan Brooks walked in. Her uniform was dusty, and a bandage covered a cut on her forehead. Despite her appearance, she carried herself with authority. "We lost contact with the European command," she announced without preamble. "The Council has control of most major cities now." "What about our military response?" Rodriguez asked. Admiral Brooks laughed bitterly. "Our jets can't even get close to their ships before being shot down. Our tanks might as well be toys against their ground forces. We're fighting a losing battle with conventional tactics." Olivia looked up from her microscope. "We need to understand why they're here. This isn't just about conquest. They're taking people, civilians, scientists, military personnel, for study," Brooks said. "We intercepted communications suggesting they're fascinated by human behavior. They call us unpredictable and dangerous." Rodriguez typed rapidly on his tablet. "I've been working on breaking into their communication systems. They use quantum encryption, but there's a pattern I've almost cracked." A soldier rushed into the lab, breathing hard. "Admiral, we just got a message from Agent Carter. He managed to get aboard one of the Council ships disguised as a prisoner." Brooks straightened. "What did he find out?" "The Council didn't expect us to fight back so hard," the soldier replied. "They thought we would surrender immediately when faced with their technology. They're confused by our resistance." Olivia stepped away from her equipment. That's it. They don't understand us because they've never encountered a species like humans before. Their technology advanced without the conflicts that drove our development. Rodriguez nodded excitedly. Their battle strategies are all programmed. I bet their ships use artificial intelligence for tactical decisions based on thousands of previous encounters with other species. Admiral Brooks narrowed her eyes. But none of those species were human. We're unpredictable because our history is filled with asymmetric warfare, the weak finding ways to defeat the strong through creativity and determination. The bunker shook as something exploded nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling, but no one flinched. They had grown used to the constant bombardment. We need to use strategies they won't expect, Brooks continued. Rodriguez, can you get me communications with all remaining resistance cells worldwide? Yes, ma'am. I've set up a network using old radio frequencies. The Council focuses on quantum communications and largely ignores what they consider outdated technology. Brooks smiled for the first time in days. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. General Sun Tzu said it best. All warfare is based on deception. 3 hours later, military and civilian leaders from around the world connected via Rodriguez's secure radio network. Brooks outlined her unconventional strategy. The Council relies on predictable patterns and overwhelming technology, she explained. We need to be unpredictable. Use tactics that make no logical sense, attack and retreat randomly. Use civilian equipment repurposed as weapons. Communicate using methods they'll dismiss as primitive. From New Delhi, a resistance leader spoke up. We've noticed their sensors can't track us well in heavy rain or electrical storms. Same in Rio, another voice added. Their ground troops get confused in the dense forest. They expect us to use roads and open areas. Rodriguez interrupted with excitement. I've broken through. I have access to their communication network. His fingers flew across his keyboard. They're arguing among themselves about how to handle us. Everyone gathered around his screen. The alien language had been translated by Rodriguez's program. Supreme Commander Vorex demands immediate subjugation of human resistance. Rodriguez read. But look, this other faction led by someone named Ralt is questioning the classification of humans as a containment species. Brooks leaned closer. They're divided about us. We can use that. A new alert flashed on Rodriguez's screen. I've got the location of their prisoner transport ships. They're taking human captives to a research vessel in Earth orbit. That's where Frank must be, Olivia said, referring to Agent Carter. Brooks studied the information. If we could free those prisoners and capture their research data, it would be seen as impossible by Council standards, Rodriguez finished. Exactly the kind of unpredictable move we need. The underground bunker became the center of a global resistance strategy unlike anything in human military history. Brooks coordinated with remaining military units worldwide, but also with civilian groups, farmers, construction workers, even school teachers, all bringing different perspectives to the fight. In Iowa, farmers used their knowledge of the land to lead Council ground troops into flooded fields, short-circuiting their advanced armor. In Tokyo, subway workers created elaborate tunnel systems that confused alien mapping technology. In Kenya, wildlife guides used their tracking skills to hunt Council scouts in the savannah. Each small victory boosted human morale. The Council forces, designed for efficient, decisive conquest, found themselves bogged down in 1,000 small conflicts with no central command to target. 1 month after the invasion began, Rodriguez burst into the command center where Brooks was coordinating the day's operations. Admiral, Agent Carter managed to get a message out from the research vessel. The Council is keeping hundreds of humans there for study, and he's found something else. Files on Council species that were previously classified as containment threats. So we're not the first, Brooks said thoughtfully. No, but we're apparently the most troublesome. The others either surrendered quickly or were destroyed. We're the only ones who've managed to hold out this long against initial invasion. Brooks looked at the global map showing Council positions and human resistance cells. Their technology was still far superior. but the aliens were spreading themselves thin, trying to control scattered human forces. It's time for the next phase, Brooks decided. Tell Colonel Washington to prepare Operation Hornet's Nest, and get me a direct line to Commander Harper on the Defiance. If Carter's information about the research vessel is accurate, we're going to need a way to get up there. Olivia looked at the Admiral with concern. You're not suggesting... Brooks nodded grimly. We're taking the fight to them, in space, where they'll never expect humans to challenge them. The Council had come to Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered in their thousands of years of galactic domination. Humans didn't fight according to any logical pattern the Council could understand. And that was just the beginning of their education in human battle tactics. The mood in the underground war room was tense but hopeful. Admiral Susan Brooks stood before a group of 20 soldiers and civilians who formed the core of Earth's resistance. Outside, the night sky glowed orange from distant fires as Council ships continued their assault on major cities. Operation Hornet's Nest begins in 6 hours, Brooks announced, pointing to a holographic map of North America. Our objective is to confuse and divide Council forces while Commander Harper leads the space assault on their research vessel. Colonel Eric Washington, a tall man with a stern face and steady hands, stepped forward. My ground teams are ready. We've trained using the unconventional tactics that have been working against Council troops. Kevin Rodriguez raised his hand. The virus is ready too. Once uploaded to their systems, it should disable their shields for approximately 8 minutes. He looked tired but proud of his work. Not long, but hopefully enough time. 8 minutes is an eternity in battle, Brooks replied. If we hit them simultaneously across multiple locations, their command structure won't be able to respond coherently. Dr. Olivia Wright added, based on their biological samples, the Council species are less adaptable than humans. They rely heavily on established protocols. When faced with situations outside their experience, they hesitate. From the back of the room, Lieutenant William Garcia spoke. My pilots are ready. We've modified 20 civilian aircraft to carry weapons, and we've been practicing flying patterns that confuse their targeting systems. Brooks nodded with satisfaction. Good. The Council expects logical, predictable military responses. Instead, they'll get chaos. 6 hours later, as dawn broke over the Rocky Mountains, Operation Hornet's Nest began. Across the continent, human forces launched simultaneous attacks on Council positions using tactics that defied conventional military logic. In Colorado, miners used their knowledge of underground tunnels to plant explosives beneath Council ground bases. The aliens, with all their advanced technology, never thought to scan deep beneath their feet. Near Lake Michigan, fishing boats loaded with homemade explosives sailed directly toward a hovering Council ship. The aliens ignored the small vessels, until it was too late. Their sensors programmed to prioritize military threats over civilian craft. In the Nevada desert, Colonel Washington led a force using modified farm equipment as mobile cover. The heat signatures confused Council targeting systems, which were calibrated to identify tanks and armored vehicles. And high above, in the darkness of space, Commander John Harper and the patched-up USS Defiance approached the massive Council research vessel. The Defiance was barely functional after its escape weeks ago, but it was humanity's only spacecraft capable of reaching the orbital research station. Approaching target, Lieutenant Samantha Miller reported from her station. Their sensors haven't detected us yet, Harper nodded. The Defiance was running on minimal power, using a jury-rigged cloaking system based on materials found in the asteroid belt. Rodriguez's virus? Ready to upload once we're close enough, Miller confirmed. Harper looked at the small team of volunteers who would board the alien vessel. Remember, our primary objective is to free the human prisoners and recover Agent Carter. Any intelligence we can gather is secondary. The team leader, a former Navy SEAL named Joe Bell, checked his weapon. It wasn't standard military issue, but a modified mining laser repurposed as a handheld weapon. We're ready, Commander. The Defiance drifted closer to the massive research vessel. On screens throughout the ship, they could see Earth below, parts of it dark from power outages. other areas bright with fires from the ongoing battles. "Transmission from Earth," Miller announced. "Operation Hornet's Nest is in full swing. Council, forces are scattered and attempting to respond to multiple threats." Harper allowed himself a small smile. "Perfect timing. Upload the virus now." Miller pressed a series of commands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms began blaring on the Council vessel. Its external lights flickered, and the shield that had been invisible except for a slight distortion of stars behind it suddenly became visible as it fluctuated. "Shield failure confirmed," Miller reported. "We have 8 minutes." "Take us in," Harper ordered. The Defiance accelerated toward the now vulnerable research vessel. As they approached, they could see Council ships nearby suddenly changing course, heading back toward Earth. The distraction was working. Inside the Council vessel, Agent Frank Carter felt the ship shudder. The alarms were in an alien language, but he didn't need a translation to know something was wrong. For weeks he had posed as a prisoner while gathering intelligence on Council operations. The door to his cell suddenly slid open. Carter tensed, ready to fight, but instead saw a Council guard collapse to the floor with a smoking hole in its chest. Behind it stood Joe Bell and his team. "Agent Carter?" Bell asked. Carter nodded. "The other prisoners?" "We're getting them now. Commander Harper sends his regards." Together, they moved through the ship, freeing hundreds of human captives from laboratories and holding cells. Many were weak or injured, but their eyes showed renewed hope as they realized a rescue was underway. In the ship's data center, Rodriguez's specialized program downloaded terabytes of Council research and tactical information. The intelligence would be invaluable for understanding their enemy. On Earth, the Council forces were in disarray. Their highly coordinated military structure, so effective against conventional opponents, couldn't adapt to the seemingly random human attacks. Their commanders demanded logical patterns to counter, but found none. General Thrix, the Council's field commander, watched in growing concern as reports flooded in from across the planet. Humans were using outdated weapons, civilian vehicles, even weather patterns to their advantage. Nothing in his extensive military training had prepared him for this type of warfare. "Surrender is illogical," he insisted to his subordinates. "Their technology is primitive. Their forces are smaller. They should be defeated already." His tactical officer, a member of the Centauri Alliance, responded nervously. "But sir, they don't fight according to any known doctrine. They adapt constantly. Each unit seems to create its own tactics rather than following a central strategy." "Impossible." Thrix clicked his mandibles in agitation. "All military forces require central command and consistent tactics." The tactical display suddenly showed a new alert. "The research vessel's shields are down. They report human intruders aboard." Thrix's compound eyes widened. "Impossible," he repeated, but with less certainty. Back on the research vessel, the rescue team and freed prisoners raced toward the Defiance. Rodriguez's virus was about to expire, and Council reinforcements were approaching. 30 seconds until shield restoration," Miller called as Harper watched the last group board through the airlock. "Everyone's aboard," Carter confirmed. "Plus, a bonus." He held up a small data crystal. "Complete schematics of Council ship designs and weapon systems." Harper smiled. "Let's go home." The Defiance pulled away just as the research vessel's shields reactivated. Several Council ships gave chase, but the human vessel executed a series of random course changes that no logical pilot would attempt, confusing the pursuit. As they headed back to Earth, Harper received a transmission from Admiral Brooks. "Operation successful across all fronts. Council forces retreating to regroup." For the first time since the invasion began, humans had won a decisive victory. The Galactic Council had just learned an important lesson. Humans didn't fight by the rules, and that made them more dangerous than any species they had ever encountered. 1 month after Operation Hornet's Nest, the war had reached a stalemate. The Council forces had pulled back to fortified positions around major cities, no longer attempting to control the entire planet. Humans continued their guerrilla tactics, wearing down the alien invaders day by day. In the underground command center, Kevin Rodriguez stared at his screen with wide eyes. "Admiral Brooks, I'm picking up an unidentified transmission on a frequency we haven't seen before. It's not Council. Standard protocol. Admiral Brooks walked quickly to his station. Source? It appears to be coming from a small ship in orbit. Definitely not one of the main Council vessels. Brooks frowned. Could be a trap. Put it through, but keep our location scrambled. The screen flickered to life, showing an alien with purple skin and large, thoughtful eyes. It wasn't one of the species they had encountered among the Council forces. Greetings, humans. The alien spoke in careful English. I am Ambassador Raalt of the Procyon Federation. I wish to speak with your leaders. Brooks straightened her uniform, jacket. I am Admiral Susan Brooks of Earth Defense Command. State your purpose. I come without the Council's knowledge, Raalt said, looking nervously over his shoulder. Not all species agree with the classification of humans as a containment threat. Some of us believe this war is unjust. Commander Harper, who had joined Brooks at the screen, exchanged a skeptical glance with her. Why should we trust you? Because my people were once where you are now, Raalt replied. 300 years ago, the Procyon Federation was classified as a containment species. We fought, we lost, and we have served the Council ever since. But now seeing how humans fight, his large eyes blinked rapidly. You might succeed where we failed. Brooks studied the alien carefully. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador? An alliance. Secret for now. There are others within the Council who question this war. Your tactics have caused division among the leadership. Supreme Commander Vorex insists on your subjugation, but others see potential value in human creativity and adaptability. Rodriguez suddenly spoke up from his workstation. Admiral, I've been decoding some of the data we recovered from the research vessel. He's telling the truth. There are records of other species that were classified as containment threats and later integrated into the Council. Brooks nodded slowly. What kind of alliance do you propose? Information exchange to start, Raalt said. I can provide details of Council ship movements and perhaps technical specifications that would help you target their weaknesses. This might be the break they needed. Brooks turned to Harper. Commander, what do you think? Harper had been studying the aliens' body language. I believe he's genuine, and we need allies. Brooks made her decision. Ambassador Raalt, we accept your offer of alliance, but understand this. Earth will never submit to being a second-class species in your Council. Raalt's expression seemed to lighten. That is precisely why I am here, Admiral. Your people have shown qualities the galaxy needs. 2 weeks later, Brooks stood before a holographic display showing Mars and its surrounding space. Thanks to Raalt's intelligence, they had identified a key weakness in the Council's defense grid around the Red Planet. Mars' colony had fallen early in the invasion, with over 5,000 human colonists now held under Council control. General Diane Powell pointed to several locations on the map. If Raalt's information is accurate, these are the blind spots in their sensor coverage. We can approach using the modified commercial ships. Brooks nodded. How many civilians can we rescue? All of them if everything goes according to plan, Powell replied. The Council forces on Mars are minimal. They don't expect an attack. Paul Martinez, a civilian engineer who had been essential in developing stealth technology for the commercial vessels, spoke up. The ships are ready. We've retrofitted 8 passenger liners with the cloaking technology we developed, based on the Council schematics Agent Carter recovered. Brooks looked around the room at the mix of military and civilian personnel working together. This was what made humans different, their ability to adapt and cooperate across traditional boundaries. Operation Red Dawn begins at 200 hours tomorrow, she announced. General Powell has tactical command. As the meeting dispersed, Rodriguez approached with his tablet. Admiral, I've intercepted some interesting Council communications. Their War Council is in session and there's serious debate about continuing the conflict. Brooks raised an eyebrow. Let me see. The translated transcript showed heated arguments between Council factions. Supreme Commander Vorex insisted that humans must be contained at all costs, while others pointed out the mounting casualties and resource drain of the ongoing conflict. One section caught Brooks's attention. These humans employ tactics that our military simulators cannot predict. Each defeat teaches them, while our forces continue to apply the same strategies that have worked for millennia against other species. Rodriguez grinned. They're starting to understand why they can't beat us. Send this to Commander Harper, Brooks ordered, and prepare Operation Thunderclap for immediate implementation after the Mars rescue. If the Council is divided, now is the time to push harder. 3 days later, in Council space, Supreme Commander Vorex faced the Galactic Council in their Grand Chamber. His mandibles clicked in agitation as he delivered his report. The human resistance continues. They have now liberated their Mars colony using vessels our sensors could not detect. Our casualties mount while their primitive technology should make victory simple. A council member from a species resembling a tall, thin humanoid with translucent skin spoke. Perhaps we have misclassified these humans. Their capacity for adaptation suggests they could be valuable allies rather than threats. Impossible. Vorex clicked louder. They are violent, unpredictable, emotional. Their history is filled with conflict. They cannot be trusted. Ambassador Rault, carefully concealing his secret alliance, spoke carefully. Yet their conflicts have driven their rapid advancement. In merely 3 centuries, they progressed from primitive combustion engines to space travel. Their adaptability is unprecedented. The council chamber erupted in debate as news arrived of simultaneous human attacks on 7 council outposts throughout the solar system. Operation Thunderclap was underway, demonstrating human tactical versatility in ways the council had never seen. Each attack used different methods. One outpost was disabled by a computer virus. Another was infiltrated by humans wearing modified council armor. A third was attacked by small, fast ships that appeared out of nowhere. No pattern, no predictability, nothing that could be countered with a single defensive strategy. In his secured communications room on Earth, Rodriguez monitored the Council's frantic responses with satisfaction. They're completely confused, he reported to Brooks. Each commander is requesting different types of reinforcements because they can't figure out what we'll do next. Brooks allowed herself a small smile. And that's exactly the point. Humans don't follow a single tactical doctrine. We improvise, we adapt, we overcome. On the Council's primary command ship, General Thrix watched the tactical displays with growing concern. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. These humans fought like no species he had ever encountered. They used their weaknesses as strengths, their limitations as advantages. As reports of yet another defeat reached him, Thrix made a decision that would change the course of the war. He sent a private message to the Council leadership. Request. Permission to study human battle tactics directly. Conventional approaches are failing. We must understand their methods. The war had reached a turning point. The mighty Galactic Council, ruler of 1,000 star systems, was beginning to realize that perhaps they had underestimated this small, seemingly insignificant species from the edge of the galaxy. 6 months after the first attack, a council ship approached Earth under a flag of truce. It moved slowly, weapon systems powered down, broadcasting peace signals on all frequencies. The ship was smaller than the massive vessels that had first invaded, designed for diplomacy rather than war. Admiral Susan Brooks stood in the new Earth Defense Command Center, rebuilt above ground now that the immediate threat had passed. On the large screen before her, she watched the Council vessel enter Earth orbit. Should we trust them? Commander John Harper asked, standing at her side. His uniform was crisp, but the months of war had left their mark in the new lines on his face and the scar running along his jaw. Trust but verify, Brooks replied. Rodriguez, do you detect any hidden weapons or suspicious energy readings? Kevin Rodriguez shook his head. Nothing, Admiral. And our new detection systems would spot any tricks they might try. Brooks nodded. Then let's hear what they have to say. The screen changed to show the interior of the Council ship. Three aliens stood before the camera: General Thrix, the Council military commander who had led the invasion, Ambassador Rault, their secret ally, and a new figure, a tall being with silvery skin and wise eyes. "I am High Counselor Zhen," the silver being spoke in perfect English. "I come with the authority of the Galactic Council to request a formal ceasefire and diplomatic relations with Earth." Brooks kept her expression neutral despite the surge of triumph she felt. "This is Admiral Susan Brooks of Earth Defense Command. We are willing to discuss terms." Jen bowed slightly. "The Council formally acknowledges that the classification of humans as a containment species was inaccurate. We request permission to land and begin negotiations." Brooks exchanged glances with Harper before responding. "Permission granted. You may land at the coordinates we're transmitting. A delegation will meet you there." 3 days later, Brooks and Harper stood in the grand meeting room of what was once the United Nations building in New York. Secretary Alan Bennett, Earth's newly appointed diplomatic leader, sat at the head of the table opposite High Counselor Jen. The room was filled with representatives from both sides, human military and civilian leaders facing council officials from a dozen different species. "The terms of peace are simple," Secretary Bennett stated firmly. "Earth will join the Galactic Council as a full and equal member, with all the rights and protections that entails." Jen nodded. "Agreed. The Council has voted unanimously to offer Earth full membership status." "That's quite a change from containment species," Harper remarked. General Thrix clicked his mandibles nervously. "The Council has never encountered a species that could resist our military might as effectively as humans have. Your battle tactics are unique in our experience." "Which brings us to our second condition," Brooks added. "We want to know why you attacked us in the first place." Zhen's silver face showed what might have been embarrassment. "For thousands of years, the Council has used a classification system for newly discovered intelligent species. Those deemed too aggressive or unpredictable were labeled as containment threats and managed." "You mean conquered?" Harper said flatly. "Yes," Jen admitted. "Your species showed concerning traits: rapid technology development driven by warfare, emotional decision-making rather than logic, and a history filled with conflict." Dr. Olivia Wright, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. "Those same traits are what saved us. Our adaptability comes from our conflicts. Our creativity comes from our emotions." Jen nodded slowly. "We understand that now, which is why the Council has a request of its own." The room grew silent as Jen stood. "The Galactic Council formally requests that Earth establish an academy to teach our military forces human battle tactics." The human side of the room erupted in surprised murmurs. Bennett raised his hand for quiet. "You want us to teach you how to fight like humans?" "Yes," General Thrix spoke, standing beside Jen. "Your unpredictability, your adaptability, your, what do you call it, thinking outside the box? These are qualities that could benefit the entire galaxy." Brooks couldn't help but smile at the irony. "So the very reasons you attacked us are now the reasons you want to learn from us?" "Precisely," Jen said. "The Council has relied on technological superiority for too long. We've become complacent, predictable." 1 month later, the first class of alien cadets arrived at the newly established Interspecies Combat Academy in Colorado. Colonel Eric Washington and Kevin Rodriguez had been appointed as lead instructors, with specialists from various military and civilian backgrounds serving as teachers. Lisa Taylor, a former Special Forces operator, stood before a group of 20 alien students from 10 different species. Among them was a young arachnid named Vrix, who watched her with fascination through his compound eyes. "Welcome to Human Battle Tactics 101, Lisa began. "Today we begin with the most fundamental concept in human military thinking: adaptability." Vrix raised one of his 4 arms. "Instructor Taylor, our military teaches that consistency and order are the foundations of effective warfare. How can unpredictable tactics be coordinated?" Lisa smiled. "That's exactly the question we'll answer in this course. Human military history is filled with examples of smaller, less technologically advanced forces defeating superior enemies through creativity and adaptation. As the class continued, on the other side of the academy, Dr. Wright led a different kind of lesson. She stood before council scientists and historians, explaining human development. To understand human battle tactics, you must first understand human history, she explained. Our species evolved as both predator and prey. We learned to cooperate in groups while maintaining individual initiative. Our conflicts drove our innovations. At the Academy's command center, Admiral Brooks gave Commander Harper a tour of the facility. They stopped at a viewing window overlooking the main training field, where alien cadets were learning to use improvised weapons and unconventional cover. If someone had told me 6 months ago that we'd be teaching alien species how to fight, like humans, I would have thought they were crazy, Harper said, shaking his head in amazement. Brooks smiled. If they had told me alien invaders would end up begging to learn our tactics, I wouldn't have believed it either. Secretary Bennett joined them at the window. The council representatives tell me that word of our resistance has spread throughout the galaxy. Other species that were previously classified as containment threats are now being reconsidered for full membership. So our anger actually changed the entire galactic political structure, Harper mused. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to overcome challenges through creativity and determination, Brooks replied. Now we're teaching that to the galaxy. On the training field below, Vrick successfully completed an exercise that required creative problem-solving rather than following established protocols. His instructor, a former guerrilla fighter from South America, gave him an approving nod. I believe I understand now, Vrick said excitedly to his fellow cadets. Humans don't just fight with weapons, they fight with ideas. As the sun set over, the Academy, Earth's place in the galaxy, had been transformed. From an unknown primitive world to a respected member of the Galactic Council. From a target for conquest to a teacher of battle tactics. The very qualities that had made humans targets had become their greatest diplomatic asset. And across the stars, other species watched and learned an important lesson. Never underestimate the creativity, determination, and sheer unpredictability of an angry human.